Do you expect me to discuss the legal and moral quandaries of the recent leak of GoldenEye 007 for Xbox Live Arcade? Yes, Mr. Jordan. Although I still expect you to die. Hello everyone, my name is Jordan, Cyberpunk Jordan. In case you didn't catch all the references already, we're talking about James Bond, specifically the recent leak of the cancelled GoldenEye 007 for the Xbox Live Arcade. From here on out, I'll be abbreviating it as GoldenEye XBLA. GoldenEye XBLA would have been an enhanced version of the original Nintendo 64 title for the Xbox 360, featuring high-definition visuals and online multiplayer. But why remake a licensed title like that? They're usually pretty terrible, right? Well, GoldenEye for the N64 is considered by many gamers and journalists as not only one of the best titles for the Nintendo 64, but a groundbreaking first-person shooter for consoles. So, what happened? As is often the case with licensed titles, it isn't as simple as one company owning the rights to said title. You had Activision, who held the rights to make James Bond titles at the time, Nintendo, the original publisher of the title, Eon Productions, the owners of the Bond license, and Microsoft, who wanted this port on their console and owned Rare, the studio that made the original GoldenEye 007 for the N64. And that's not including the permission needed to use the likenesses of the various actors used for that game, such as Pierce Brosnan in the titular role of James Bond. In short, there were too many complications when it came to licensing that made releasing GoldenEye XBLA practically impossible. So it was shelved with reportedly only 2 months needed to make the title finished. This highlights an unfortunate fact when it comes to licensed titles. They are unlikely to ever be re-released due to complications with different companies, likenesses of the different actors, and so on and so forth. It makes these titles particularly vulnerable to becoming unavailable or lost media, as in addition to the normal issues that happen when it comes to older hardware and software, you also have licensing issues and an audience not large enough, to these corporations anyway, to justify the time and money needed to re-release said titles. There are of course exceptions like the surprising but welcome re-release of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, and in the age of social media, it is more possible than ever for companies to receive a torrent of support demanding re-releases of older titles in their back catalog. But despite these new avenues, it isn't always the case regardless of demand, and GoldenEye XBLA has the misfortune of being one of those titles and being cancelled. So it made it extremely unlikely for it to ever see the light of day. Until now. On January 29, 2021, a YouTube user named Grassloo00 made a 2-hour-long playthrough of GoldenEye XBLA. It's unknown how Grassloo00 acquired the read-only memory, ROM, that would be necessary to emulate it on the Xbox 360 emulator called Xena. Xena? Is it Xena? Xena? I think I'm gonna go with Xena. Regardless, a couple days later, a read-only memory file of GoldenEye XBLA was distributed online and covered by mainstream gaming outlets such as Ars Technica, PC Gamer, and IGN. For crying out loud, the BBC even covered it. There is a myriad of questions though, such as who is distributing this read-only memory file, and how did they obtain it? On the earlier question, Ars Technica reported the ROM contained an NFO file, a file commonly used for distribution of copyrighted material with ASCII art that tells you more information about it. In this file was a name, Fydorovina, which is the middle name of the character Natalia Simonova? Gosh freaking dang it. Natalia Simonova from GoldenEye. So that isn't really an indicator of who leaked the read-only memory file, unless Natalia Simonova leaked it, but she's a fictional character, so I doubt that would be the case. We'll likely never know the true identity of this individual due to the legal implications that something like this would entail. For the record, when I say the individual, I mean the person that leaked the read-only memory file for wider consumption on the internet. I'm not talking about Grassloo, but we do have a theory on how it was leaked, and it mainly comes from the YouTube channel Modern Vintage Gamer. According to him, GoldenEye XBLA was leaked due to the existence of PartnerNet. PartnerNet was a service by Microsoft that allowed folks who were developers or reviewers to download code, which security wasn't really a thing and could therefore be accessed by pretty much anybody with an Xbox 360 development kit. GoldenEye XBLA was made briefly available for 1 hour, and Xbox 360 development kits were often trashed in landfills by Microsoft. These landfills were scavenged by resellers for Xbox 360 development kits, who sold them to a wider audience. So, with that information in mind, one theory that I have is one of the discarded Xbox 360 development kits had GoldenEye XBLA that was downloaded via PartnerNet, and somehow this individual was able to leak the ROM file of the title on the net. This is the theory that makes the most sense to me, as the only other theory that I can think of is the ROM file being directly stolen from one of the companies involved in GoldenEye XBLA, such as Activision, Nintendo, or Microsoft/Rare. But I seriously doubt this is the case, mainly because such a brazen action would have almost certainly attracted the attention of law enforcement. So I'm completely disregarding it for this video. It doesn't change the fact there are still a ton of mysteries surrounding the leak of GoldenEye XBLA. But this is all the information that I could gather as of February 5th, 2021. It also doesn't change the fact that there are still a lot of legal and moral quandaries surrounding the leak of GoldenEye XBLA. However, before we start talking about that, I have to make a bit of a disclaimer. This should not be taken as legal advice. I'm not a lawyer, and you should consult an actual one for any copyright-related issues. Alright, that disclaimer out of the way, I think I can now say the obvious. This leak is super illegal no matter how you slice or dice it. When it comes to distributing ROMs online, they are copyrighted materials, and unauthorized distribution of said materials is illegal. It doesn't matter if the reason is for preservation or another seemingly valid reason, the law is the law. The circumstances of how GoldenEye XBLA was released is also surrounded in questions about who obtained it and how it was obtained. But the only thing we have right now are theories and assumptions being the only thing we really have. It's not something I like at all when it comes to archiving materials like this, and in fact could spell issues for us later on. Combined, the whole thing makes it untouchable as heck to most researchers and archivists, including me.
But Jordan, I thought you said you liked video game archivism. I'm a sock.
Yes, I do care about video game archivism and preservation quite a bit. I won't deny that copyright laws in the US are frickin' broken and need to be amended for these sorts of cases to preserve and protect video games, especially ones that never saw the light of day. GoldenEye XBLA is absolutely something that needs to be preserved and protected, as it is associated not only with one of the most celebrated titles of all time, but one of the best film franchises of all time. For crying out loud, the guys who are making Hitman are able to make a James Bond game. That's freaking cool. But we should also remember the past of James Bond video games as well, both the good and the very bad. But I've never believed in resorting to breaking said law to do such a thing. Even if this ROM was obtained legally, it is nonetheless being distributed and downloaded illegally online. If we support stuff like this, are we any better than the British Museum in London, which has a bunch of stolen artifacts from nations around the world and continues to have them on display in the name of serving the public interest? Listen, I understand completely people archiving video game consoles and systems to keep them accessible for future generations. I've advocated for that and will continue to do so. But there's a right and a wrong way to do it, and this is simply the wrong way to do it. I feel that this ROM should have been donated to a museum or a historical society, something other than this. I know that the internet can keep things alive, and there are fantastic reasons to preserve your work online, but that has to be conducted differently than what we saw here. I understand why folks are really excited, and I totally get it. It's like uncovering a buried treasure lost to the sands of time. Except that this particular treasure is cursed to whoever takes it, and its value is thus decreased substantially. Anyway, that's our show. I'll be updating via the comments section if there's any new information about this. This is Jordan, and...
Honey, I think you left the mashed potatoes on.
What? I said I also expected you to die, Jordan. Jeez. Ugh, my head. Wait, where the heck am I? And did I die or something? No, you didn't die. That was just one big plot contrivance and punchline all wrapped into one. Wait, who the heck are you? You sound just like me. Well, that's because I am you, or going to be you anyway. I'm Jordan. Horse Jordan, to be the exact. Why are you going to become me? Long story short, this is one big plot contrivance because you don't have enough emotions in your Victor set, and for reasons we're not going to talk about here, we can't get you any more. I so do have a ton of emotions. Watch. That's not a lot of them compared to me. Yeah, dang it, you're kinda right. So, what happens to me then? Do I just disappear, or what? No, you're still going to be around. You'll make occasional appearances and update videos and things like that. But otherwise, I'm going to be taking over your role in terms of being the real you, so to speak. Well, that's fine by me, but now what? Well, we have to wait till this video expires. I don't make my debut until the next episode of Jordan's Soapbox. So, what do we do for the next 20 seconds while this end card plays? Well, this whole experience kind of reminds me of something. Don't say it. Doctor Who. Gosh, dang it, the BBC's gonna be on our butts now. Anyway, just subscribe, I guess, you people. There was an audience this entire time?